Nothing is real but God. Nothing matters but love for God. God is the only reality. All else that seems real is illusory. God and I are one. Meher Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Thanks to beloved Baba and Jai Baba to all of you. We are meeting today to continue with our reading from Silent Teachings of Meher Baba. And the chapter that we have selected is most pertinent to each one of us. It is Maya. As has been my practice, I'll just try to recap very briefly what we did so far. Baba says that Maya is not illusion, it is the creator of illusion. Maya is not false, it is that which creates false impressions. Maya is not unreal. This is very important. Baba says Maya is not unreal. It is that which creates a real thing as appear as unreal and an unreal thing as appearing as real. Then Baba says Maya is not duality, it is that which causes or creates duality. Then Baba goes on to say that Maya is so tricky that it knows to take its hold or position in a very strategic place from where it can control everyone and everything, and that is our own intellect. It has taken hold of our own intellect, so we don't even have a whiff or a doubt that we are all slaves of Maya. We don't even realize that. On the contrary, we feel that we are the masters, and whenever Baba presents something to us, we in fact we doubt it in a sense. Now, for example, like Baba says that Maya creates a mistake in valuating things. That which is important is considered as unimportant, which means God. That which is unimportant is considered as important. Baba gives the example of death. I keep repeating this. Why? Because each one of us has a very profound significance with regard to death. Our death, anybody else's death, and we give it so much of importance. So Baba says that that is one of the unimportant things which Maya makes it look as if it is the important thing. Now, when it is said that it is unimportant, it doesn't mean that you will not care, you will be careless, you will be carefree. No, it only means that you have association with the physical form of each one in the right bent of mind, knowing that one fine day this particular form is not going to be there. In other words, in each and every response or reaction to other beings, we are in a state of equanimity, and we understand that that particular form will not be there after a certain stretch of time. Then Baba goes on to say that it gives importance to certain things, which is much more important. It gives more importance than its intrinsic value. And Baba gives the example of rites, rituals, ceremonies, and all that. Baba says it in itself, it has no importance. But if it creates a feeling of love, if it creates a feeling of oneness, or if it creates a feeling of forgiveness, of tolerance towards each other, then all those things are of importance. And the most, I would say, the most important thing that we did last session was that in each and every soul, Baba uses the word soul here. Elsewhere, yesterday we talked about the self and the spirit. But Baba here in this chapter uses the word soul. In each and every individualized, finite, separative, finite soul, Baba has implanted, there's an implant of what? Of that spark. And that spark will not be extinguished no matter what. Howsoever sinful we may be, howsoever depraved we may be, so many mistakes we make in our life, that spark is such which will never be extinguished till it meets its source, that is God or the self. That's a very reassuring stuff, that irrespective of who we are, what we are, what we may have done in the past, that spark's journey is to meet with the goal, and that is God. There is no way out. It cannot backtrack. Consciousness cannot backtrack. It has to reach its final goal. Just a thought, a very, very extremely crude thought. It is something like you have food and it passes through your mouth and then through the gullet and then through the food pipe and then enters the stomach, then goes into the duodenum, then goes to the small intestine and then to the large intestine and finally the anus, and it's out. Rectum, anus, what, and it's out. There is no, I mean, that is the what should I say, the blueprint of how the food will travel. So in the same, that means there is no way out except that if it goes in from one end, it has to come out from the other end. I said I'm using a crude example. In the same way, the blueprint of Baba's creation, of God's creation, is that each and every soul finally merges with the Creator. The creature realizes that I always was, am, and ever will remain the Creator. So these are just very few points which I have just said. If there are any questions, you can always ask. So now Soumya will read further on. And Baba talks about the most basic ignorance, and that is to identify ourselves as the body. And to not identify with the body, it needs effort. But to identify with the body, it is very sahaj, natural, normal. And therefore, Maya has taken such a grip. And then Baba says it is not just pertaining to our gross body or the physical body, it applies equally to the subtle body and the mental body. So now, Soumya will start reading from page number 27 of Silent Teachings of Meher Baba.
This is true of reliance on earthly possessions for security and of all the other false premises with which Maya so enticingly paves the road of deception, on which it diabolically leads man to his undoing. By the grace of God, however, there is a hollow sound to every flagstone of falsehood over which man is lured to walk towards his doom. The false note in the very sound, the sense of walking on thin ice camouflaged as pavement, betrays the fancy trappings of Maya to the growing spiritual intuition of the victim and eventually leads him to full consciousness of the truth.
Just imagine the language that Baba is using, superb. But in the earlier paragraph, Baba talked about that seed which has been implanted will ultimately reach the goal. But in the in-between chapters, we continue to identify ourselves, the I, as the body, and that is equally true with the subtle body and the mental body. So we are so much attached to the body. Now here Baba says, this is true of reliance on earthly possessions for security. We rely on earthly possessions for security. Your bank balance or your bungalow or your cars or your fixed deposits or your mutual fund or your shares or whatever it is, and of all the other false premises with which Maya so enticingly paves the road of deception, on which it diabolically leads man to his undoing. In other words, Maya has given false promises. It builds a road, or it paves the road for us so as to trap us in the wrong impression. One, that I am the body. Two, that I associate myself or take my security from the possessions that I have. If I've got lots of possessions, gadi, bangla, etc., I feel that I am very much secured. but there is no such thing. Here, the deception means we all know it is misleading. Maya is misleading. Maya is cheating us, And here, diabolically means disgracefully. Very disgracefully, it leads man to his undoing. By the grace of God, basically diabolic, but it can also mean disgracefully or wickedly. Maya is so wicked that it cheats us, that it deceives us into thinking that you are secure because you have got physical possessions. By the grace of God, however, there is a hollow sound to every flagstone. Flagstone means it's, for example, hollow sound would mean what? I'm sure when we lay tiles, one of the ways to know whether the tile is well set or they have done some chapati, as we call it, in putting enough cement. So what do? You knock the tiles, and when you knock the tiles, that means when you knock the flagstone, you will hear a hollow sound. When you hear the hollow sound, you know that this work, there is some garbadi, there is some issue, there is some problem, there is some cheating, there is some deception in that particular flagstone or that particular tile. So Baba is using that example. However, there is a hollow sound to every flagstone of falsehood over which man is lured. Lured means tempted to walk toward his doom. Here, what Baba is saying in a positive tone is that although Maya has laid its trap and the strappings in such a beautiful way, but by the grace of God, you will be able to knock at the flagstone and you will be able to know the hollowness of the scheme which the Maya has laid out for you. The false note in the very sound, the false note in the very sound, tuck, 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 you would have experienced the hollow sound comes when the tile is not well laid. So Baba says the false note in the very sound, the sense of walking on thin ice. When you are walking on thin ice, you are very uncertain whether you are taking the right step, whether you will be able to really walk through the entire journey or you will collapse. Because when the ice is thin, you can fall inside that way. The sense of walking on thin ice, camouflaged as pavement. What language Baba is using? Maya has camouflaged the thin ice as pavement. Pavement means which is strong, which is sturdy. But now because of your knocking, you have realized that something wrong somewhere and you are cautious about it. All this is because of the grace of God. Baba uses that sentence. Because of the grace of God, this is betrays. That means because you are now wise, it betrays the fancy trappings of Maya. That means you have now found out that Maya is laying a trap. Baba uses the word trappings. Maya is laying a trap for you, and you are getting some intuitive sense, some intuitive feeling that where I am heading is incorrect, is not the right place, and you become a little more cautious and you become little more conscious because of the grace of God. I'll repeat this sentence. Betrays the fancy trappings of Maya to the growing spiritual intuition of the victim. That means we are all victims. But when our intuition gradually grows, we are able to make out whether the path that we are treading is a correct path, is a sure path, is a proper path or not. All with the grace of God. And eventually leads him to full consciousness of the truth. So, in short, what this paragraph says is that Maya will lay down its trappings it will try to hoodwink us, it will try to seduce us, it will try to waylay us in such a beautiful manner. But if one is conscious, cautious, and if one has the grace of God, then just as how simply by knocking on the flagstone, which means the tile, you are able to make out that this sound is a sound of hollow, and therefore something is wrong somewhere, and you take conscious step, and by taking this conscious step, vis-a-vis vis-a-vis, you can say, counting on your intuition, you will be able to, Baba says, it will eventually lead you to full consciousness of the truth. So this paragraph says the importance here is the grace of God, and the grace of God will come only when we constantly call out to him to bestow his grace upon us by constant remembrance, by constantly taking his name, by constantly keeping him our companion. When we do that, in my understanding, automatically our intuitive ability opens up gradually to a point where you get to know much before what is going to happen. Why? Because you have now the grace of God and he is sitting in our being, and he is guiding us, and he is helping us, and therefore the trappings of the Maya will not hold any hold over us. So this is the paragraph. We'll read one more paragraph, and then we'll see if there are any questions on this.
To achieve this, however, the aspirant must retrace his steps over the treacherous road he has traveled, and this is a task fraught with the most acute dangers. For not only is the surface flimsy and slippery, but Maya has cunningly changed the camouflage and shifted the landmarks so that the victim now finds himself tragically lost in the labyrinth of a wilderness.
Here what Baba is trying to say, that to achieve this, that means to achieve the truth, the aspirant must retrace his steps over the treacherous road he has traveled. I have already traveled over the thin ice, which was beautifully camouflaged as a pavement. I have already traveled. Now Baba says he has to retrace his steps. That means he has to go back the same way. But when he is going back the same way, Maya has very smartly, very wickedly changed all the situation in such a manner that the person feels hopelessly caught up in it. Now, this is my understanding, my interpretation. I may have certain so-called low desires which I am following as per the dictates of Maya. Now all of a sudden I realize that these are low desires, and therefore I need to retrace. That means I have to come out of it. Now in coming out of it, Maya, this is my interpretation, mind you, Maya shows us some other type of desires, which I may interpret as high desires. Let us say Maya may say, oh, Maya may give me an opportunity to do some fast, to do some penance, to do something, which in my interpretation is a higher desire, which in my interpretation is a better desire, which in my interpretation is purifying me. This is my, again and again I say it is my, because it's not very clear what exactly Baba wants to say. But Baba has said it somewhere else, that Maya is so wicked that in the very doing of meditation, of concentration, of Nam Jap, of observing silence, of fasting on a certain day, of getting up in the middle of the night and doing something, when I assume that I am becoming better and better. But Baba says, actually, you are being bound more and more. This is my understanding that, and that is the reason perhaps why Baba has not recommended any of these things for us. For specific people, Baba may have said that's a different story. But for a general population, for a general public, Baba simply said that you keep me as your constant. Because in doing all these things, who is doing? I. The moment the I is pronounced, I am the doer, you get bound. And Baba is here to emancipate us, to free us from all the bondage. So here Baba says that to achieve this, the aspirant must retrace his steps over the treacherous road he has traveled. And this is a task fraught with the most acute dangers. For not only is the surface flimsy and slippery, but Maya has cunningly changed the camouflage. He has altered the camouflage. At one time, I was desiring for something which was base. Now Maya is offering me a desire which I assume to be a higher desire, to be a better desire. So he has changed the camouflage and shifted the landmarks. Whenever you are traveling, you have something like called landmarks, milestones. You check, okay, this is how I have gone. But on your return, the Maya has changed all the landmarks. And so that the victim now finds himself tragically lost in the labyrinths.
Labyrinth.
Labyrinths would mean maze. Maze with all guch, of wilderness. We'll read one more paragraph because that is in continuation, and then we'll see where it leads us.
Frantically now he tries to escape, and in his anxiety is again and again fooled into following the innumerable false Maya lights that beckon him to bogus safety. Maya's task now is to conceal from the aspirant the one and only path that leads to his redemption. There is but one effective counterforce that can thwart the design of Maya and guide the aspirant to divine safety, the grace of the perfect master, who alone knows all the tricks of Maya and who alone on this earth is impervious to its wiles.
One of the other thoughts that come to me is that, okay, Maya may fix us into a certain set of rites or rituals, and we will definitely, or some puja, do this havan, do this puja, do this thing, and we will feel that, thank God, now I am safe. There's a sense of security, a pseudo security, which Maya may give us. But Baba says that all these things bind. The only thing that is non binding is to have a perfect master in your life, or an avatar who's the living perfect master, who's the eternal living perfect master in our life, and to make a link to him and to cross check every now and then whether we are getting the right messages, and to try to follow in the light of what the perfect master or the avatar is guiding us from within. So that to me seems to be the only way out. Otherwise, all other methods, all other systems are fraught with pseudo security. It may appear to be very secure. Oh, I am very secure because I am doing puja 10 times a day, 5 times a day. I am doing agarbatti, I am doing minbatti, I am breaking nariyal, I am breaking eggshells, whatever that we may be doing. It gives us a sense of doing something. But Baba says that is all binding. Let us read this. Frantically now, he tries to escape, and in his anxiety is again and again fooled into following the innumerable false Maya lights. Lights means the flashlight, the beacon light. You can call it a beacon, yeah. Like how when you are on sea, you have this beacon lights,
Lighthouse.
lighthouse, and all that. So he fools into false Maya lights that beckon him to bogus safety. This is a bogus safety which man may feel that, oh, I am now safe because now I am doing all these things. But actually, it's a bogus safety. Maya's task now is to conceal from the aspirant the one and only path that leads to his redemption. One of the aspects, what comes to me right now is most of the religions, most of the religious leaders, may it be Dasturji, Padris, Pujaris, Maulvis, etc., etc., their main job is to keep their fold within that ambit. Either it may be through the process of fear, or it may be through some kind of a impulsion, compulsion, whatever it may be, or fear of hell, or whatever it is. They are wanting us to be in the Dora or in the orbit of Shariat. Shariat, we have done this earlier, Karma Kand, rites and rituals, and they give us an impression that that is the be all and end all of it. Nothing is beyond that, and therefore it gives you a false, Baba uses the word bogus sense of security. And Maya's job is to see that you remain and you remain contained in that. But Baba has very beautifully said that that is good. Karmakant is good if you do it with the heart. Shariat is good, but there is much beyond that. Shariat, Tariqat, Marifat, Hakikat. We have done this in the past. So, in other words, this is my understanding is that Maya's task now is to conceal from the aspirant the one and only path that leads to his redemption. And what is that one and only path? The path to truth, which has already been traversed and traveled by the perfect master, and he has retraced his step, coming back to us and showing us the guidance as to what path to take. He is the only one who can really take us to the truth. He is like a person who is standing on what you say, on firm ground, on sure footing. Other than that, every one of us, everyone, all the other so-called masters, they are in daldal. Daldal means quicksand, kichal, you call it. And they may be able to help you to go from spot A to spot B, but within the quagmire, within the kichal, within the daldal, not beyond this. Only those who are standing on the firm ground, not in daldal, not in quagmire, not in quicksand, whatever, they are the ones who can give us a helping hand and pull us. And those, Baba says, are only the five perfect masters and the avatar, who's the eternal living perfect master. So Baba says the only path that is available to us, Maya will use all its tricks to ensure that we do not get connected with that path. We do not get connected with a perfect master. Once we are connected, just once we are connected with the living perfect master or the avatar, connected, I mean really connected, then it becomes his responsibility to pull us out of the quagmire. It is his job, it is his responsibility. All that we have to do is to have absolute, total faith, trust, and surrenderance to him. Once we do that, he will do his job. Baba has used the word, he cannot escape his duty. Once we are connected, once we are his, and that is why, at Erach, Jasawala would so many times, you have to be determined to become his. Once you are determined to become his, once we become his, then it is his job to make us him. Let's put it that way. All right, so coming back to the reading, there is but one effective counter force that can thwart the design of Maya. Thwart means prevent. It could make this design a failure for Maya and guide the aspirant to divine safety. And what is that one single path? Baba says, the grace of the perfect master, who alone knows all the tricks of Maya. Because for a perfect master, Maya is just a shadow, Maya is just a dream, Maya is just a thing. Perfect masters know all the tricks of Maya, and therefore, and who alone on this earth is impervious. Impervious means unaffected. He cannot be affected by Maya's trick. Impervious to its wiles. Wiles means tricks. Wiles means tricks of the Maya. So here, this what this paragraph states is that Maya is very cunning. Maya is very wicked. Maya is very tricky. In the very thought that you are doing something good, Maya is so, it is like a, you can say, what is that quicksilver, quicksilver, mercury, yeah. It will change, it will keep on changing its plan, it will keep on changing its theme of catching us. If the moment Maya feels that, oh, this person has become wise, then he would give another solution, which is actually taking us more into Maya. And the examples that Baba had given is about how we get trapped in the karma kand, how we get trapped in the doingness of certain things, which we call spiritual, and we get more bound. I'm not saying, and I've been repeatedly saying this, that Baba is here to unbind us or to emancipate us or to free us from all the bondage, the good, the bad, the ugly. What we, in our limited understanding of things, think that this is spiritual, and it is in a certain sense. It is your meditation, your concentration, your naam jap, your puja part, your karma kand. In a sense, it is. But then Baba says that also binds. The bondage is of good karmas. And if you are bound by good karmas, you have to come back again in order to experience good being done to you. But Baba says, why do you want to be bound? The best thing is not to have good karmas, not to have bad karmas, just be what Baba wants us to do. So, Baba is trying to say that Maya is very cunning. We have to be very careful, and therefore time and time and time again Baba is harping on wholehearted constant remembrance. Before, of course, we still have time, but I tend to forget. So in between only I am just interjecting. Today there are two important occasions to remember. I'm not going to go into the depth of it. One is Baba dropping his alphabet board on the 7th of October 1954, where he literally threw the board and it broke, and there's a in Satara, and there was I'm using the word ceremony, and because Baba, there was a big ceremony of how he stopped using the alphabet board from that day onwards, 7th of October 1954, never ever to use it, except one exception, when Don Stevens came to Baba much later and requested Baba to take the board once again in hand and show the film crew as to how he was dictating when he was using the board. So I think he gave a very short message that although I have discarded the board, I am using this once again just to demonstrate how I used to use it. That's one important incident. And the second thing is Bal Natu, who was one of Baba's Mandli, who has been, honored with so many books. He has compiled and written so many books. Foremost among them is Glimpses of the God-Man, 6 volumes, then Conversations with the Awakener, 3 volumes, and then the Star of Infinity, the Samadhi, and many other. So he dropped this physical body on the 7th of October, 2003. A very beautiful soul. Of course, all souls are beautiful. There's no degrees in beauty of the soul. But since I had personally met him several times, even Soumya, we know him to be a very, very kind-hearted, very genuine, very loving gentleman. So we remember him. And as far as I remember, I think Baba had said that he would get mukti after he drops his body. So I'm quite certain about it that he must be enjoying infinite bliss for eternity. We've completed 3 paragraphs. Any questions here? Because today is Wednesday, I'm supposed to stop at about 6:20. Any questions from anybody? No. So I'll go
From
ahead with.
Dilshad, sorry, from Dilshad.
Okay, go ahead.
Uh, Cyrus J, all along we have understood in Baba's philosophy or gnosis, whatever you call it, that there is sanskaras and then there is uh, everything. Baba is there in everything in the universe. He is in all souls, and it is Baba who created everything. Now, the question that begs to be asked is that when words like cunning, skillful, or tricky, Maya is there, Baba only created.
Correct.
Why did he?
He created so that we overcome it. That is
Sorry?
the whole game is
Overcome.
we overcome it. The whole game is I'm sure I think it's in the God Speak because you people are experts in God Speak, where Baba talks about even in the vegetable kingdom, there are weeds. They are the supposedly the negative aspect. But because of the weeds, the plant becomes strong and it grows because it has to fight with the weeds all the time. So, in the same way, the so called negativity, which is represented by the so called cunning, wicked Maya, is there so that we know its wickedness and we overcome it. We fight it and overcome it. Okay, Dilshad.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Welcome.
I wish he had not created.
No, no, no. See, if this was not there, it would have been absolutely plain. The very fact Baba says, darkness, light, and all that. So the so-called apparent opposite of the so-called apparent good has to be there in order to fight and become strong. When we do physical exercises, what do? We use dumbbell and we use certain things which go against the gravity. Why? So that your muscles become stronger, isn't it? So in the same way, Baba has created everything with a purpose, and the purpose is only one, that through all these we reach the goal and realize that all this that we have gone through was nothing but a dream. It had no substance at all. But that we will come to know only when we finally wake up, not now. So, right
Thank
now,
you.
thank you.
Through the
So, we'll continue.
Sorry,
Yeah,
may
sorry.
I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I want to know, we have rituals and rituals even happening with Meher Baba. Like he says, Naam Jap, we are remembering his name constantly. We are also doing the Aarti. We are also doing the Dhuni. That's so. Doesn't it come to the same?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll tell you. We have already discussed this earlier,
Sorry if I haven't.
that the act in itself does not constitute whether you are doing it with love and devotion or is it just a ritual. The act in itself is not the deciding factor. What is the deciding factor is that are you putting yourself, your being, in whatever you are doing. And therefore, even if somebody who does karma kand, rites, rituals, ceremonies, etc., if he is doing it with all his heart, then that very karma kand will make that particular soul reach up to the threshold of tariqat, which means the inner spiritual path. You see, so that's why I said they are important if you do it with the heart. But if you do not do anything with the heart, then that becomes a ritual. So whether a thing is ritual or not a ritual will depend upon not the thing which you are doing per se in itself, but what is the feeling, what is the bhavna within when you are doing whatever you are doing. With regard to Dhuni, I would say it is in obedience of Baba's order at Mehrabad. And therefore, whether you do it mechanically, whether you do it with bhav or whatever it is just following Baba's orders. So it doesn't come in the, but other than that, I also agree that if we were to do Baba's Aarti or something just mechanically, maybe it may not have that effect at all. Yeah. Yes, Dilshad has something to say again.
Thank you.
If we do things with heart and putting it with total dedication, it would still be binding, right?
Of course,
Thank you.
anything, I repeat, done from the platform of I am the doer, limited, finite, separative I am the doer, binds. Simple as that. And that is why how beautifully Baba has given us a way out. That think that you are not the doer. When you are honestly honest, I use this terminology, and sincerely sincere into thinking, feeling, behaving, that you are not the doer, then only then it does not bind. Otherwise, everything binds. This is my interpretation of what binds and what does not bind. It binds, but with good karma.
So,
Yes,
Cyrus, sorry.
go ahead.
The question I have always wanted to ask is that then only the thinking part makes the difference. The differential is that once we think and believe that it is not me doing, then it becomes unbinding. I mean, that is the only differential.
You always wanted to ask, but why did you take so long to ask? You said you always wanted to ask. All right, all right. See, the thinking, see, there are two things. There is a thinking behind the thinking. There is a feeling behind the feeling. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Not just superfluous thinking, deep, conscientious, strong,
Conviction.
you can say honest, sincere thinking, then yes. And the proof of that is, I always say this, the proof of that is you are unattached or detached with the results. If you, after doing a certain thing, and if it has really gone very well, and you say, wow, you might say, wow, thank you, Baba, but you say wow to yourself, then that is not Baba doing it. You getting? You must be so unattached, so unaffected with the results, then you can say that it was Baba who has done through me or through you. Otherwise, it's difficult. I don't know whether you got what I said.
You can always start.
No, I did get it, but I had corollary questions, but I won't make a nuisance of myself. I'll speak to you separately. Thank you so much.
That means you don't want to make more nuisance of yourself. You have never been a nuisance, Dilshad, and neither has anybody ever been a nuisance. On the contrary, and I'm being honest, I feel that by asking questions, many people get answers. So it's perfectly okay to ask questions, as long as it's a sincere question,
Thanks.
not asking for the sake of asking. So you're free to ask if you want to ask, or if you're free to be a more nuisance if you think it that way. Anyway, check.
No, I will ask it some other time. There is already hand up there, so that's
Oh,
okay.
somebody has already raised another hand, you mean? Somebody else
Mere
wants to
daru
ask
wala
a
hai
question?
mere.
Sorry?
Soumya, please sing a song.
Baby, now there's
Amna,
no time.
Soumya, see, we are already on 6:14 rather. If Dilshad wants to ask the question, one last question, so that you get good sleep. No, okay, maybe some other
No,
time.
no, some other time. Thank you
Soumya
so much.
doesn't seem to be in a mood to sing today, so that is why I said you still have scope to ask questions, and then we'll stop at that. Yes, Dilshad.
No, thank you so much. No, thank you so much. I already said thank you so very much. No,
That
not
means there
today.
is no question. Anyway, all right. So
Almost.
anybody else? So today, what we have learned, I don't think we'll read another paragraph. Very beautifully, Baba explained whatever he has said. I don't want to repeat that. But what today Baba has said is that Maya is so tricky, so cunning, that he will give false. Baba used the word bogus security in doing certain things. I am doing agarbatti, I am doing diya batti, I am doing har charaving, I am doing whatever. It gives me a false sense of security because Maya is telling me to do that, but Maya is not telling me to surrender to a perfect master. Because Maya knows that once I do that, then all I am free from its grip. And so Maya will give us another option that now you do this, now you go to this dargah, now you go to this place, now you do whatever that may be, this karmakan, this, that, and give us a sense of bogus security. And Baba says that the only pathway, Baba uses the word only pathway, is that of total surrenderance to a Sadguru, which Maya will always conceal that path. Maya will never allow us to be wise enough to
For his
follow that.
redemption.
Sorry?
For his
For its redemption, for our redemption. Maya will never allow us to go there. And Baba says that if we are consciously knocking, Baba uses that very beautiful word, the hollow sound of the flagstone. That means what? You chase a certain desire, you may fulfill it or not fulfill it. Both ways, it causes suffering. If you get fulfilled, then you are, if you get something what you always wanted, you are afraid that you may lose it. So here again, I am not happy. You did not acquire what you were desiring. Again, you are not happy. Then you start knocking at the flagstone, the hollow sound, and you realize that my chasing all these desires is not leading me to self-fulfillment, to a sense of joy within, to a sense of peace within, to a sense of tranquility within, and then you change path. That's what Baba says. You retrace and you change path. But in the changing of the path also, Maya is so slippery, so shrewd, that it will show you another path, which is again another desire, which is supposed to be a lofty desire, a better desire. And that is how Maya would hoodwink us and befool us. And therefore Baba says that all that you are chasing is just like, what is it called? That cat chasing its own tail. And it will not lead you to the truth unless and until you walk the path which the perfect master has laid out for you. This is in a nutshell what we did today. So I think I'll stop here. It's almost 6.
A quick question, Sarachi.
Yeah,
Just
please, I'll give you a quick answer, Rakesh. Go ahead.
I'm assuming Mandli was connected with Baba. So, will it be safe to say, or let's say, I don't feel safe to say that Mandli was beyond Maya. So Maya, they were still entrapped.
Okay, go ahead.
And let's say people who are progressing on planes, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, at any point, I'm not saying whether their surrenderance is total or not, but I think they always never escape Maya, right up to the fifth plane.
Maya will be there up to the 6th plane of consciousness.
Right.
You cannot escape, number one. With regard to Mandli, now if you are talking about the circle members, which also may include many of the Mandli members as well, then Baba has said that in their case, although they are apparently in Maya and apparently attracted by the whims and fancies of Maya, Baba says that they have been endowed with certain samskaras which are non-binding on them. In other words, my understanding is that once you have surrendered to Baba, then it is his job, whether I'm tempted, whether I'm not tempted, whether I do a sin, I do something evil, whatever it is Baba's job to extricate me from all that I am doing. So in my understanding, Mandli comes in that category where is irrespective of how apparently, overtly, they may appear to be affected by Maya, they actually are in Baba's absolute grip, and so Baba will take care of their salvation, and that is all I can say. I
And
don't know whether I'm making myself clear.
no, total. I fully understand now.
Because Baba did say about the circle members that,
Yeah.
that first of all, he said that he takes them blindfolded through the involutionary process. So they do not get the feel of the Riddhi Siddhi or the powers and the sights
Correct.
and sounds and
Correct.
everything. That's one part. But the other part is Baba also said, that they are endowed with non-binding samskaras. And so although they appear to be bound and they appear to be attracted or distracted by the enchantment of Maya, ultimately they will reach the goal just as how we will all reach the goal, but they will definitely reach it much faster because they are in Baba's hand. That's how I
Right.
would look at it.
Okay, so I'm using your terminology here. If we are honestly honest and sincerely sincere in attributing everything we do as Baba, like he is doing, then we should have no reason to worry about Maya. The Maya will not be
Absolutely.
affecting us.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Why? Not only not to worry about Maya, but not to have some kind of a self-aggrandization that you
Yeah.
have achieved something, or no remorse or no guilt about something wrong that you may have done. Not even guilt, not even remorse. If
Correct.
you've done, because you have not done it, it is Baba who has done it. But that comes at a very, very late
Yeah.
stage where you are,
Understood.
as I say again, repeating, where you are honestly honest and sincerely sincere. Only
True.
then that would come. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you so much.
So I think we call it a day for today. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, everyone. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Jai Baba. Thanks to everybody.
Jai Baba.